Y'all are proving to me that you've never had a professional voice actor be your coach, like the ones that I've been telling you to get. A teacher that is currently in the industry. Y'all are proving that right now. This is going to be a multi-parter. But I have tons of people asking, where do I find auditions? The reason why this proves to me that you've never actually taken a class with like a professional voice actor in the industry is because if you ask your teacher, they'll tell you exactly this information. Exactly this. But also, you can Google it. Now, I understand if you're very weary about looking for auditions online because you're afraid that you don't know the signs of finding a good audition that's going to treat you well and all that stuff. I understand that. I totally do. But again, if you had a professional teacher in the industry that is currently working with you, they would have also told you how to find the sign. So a multi-part on where to find auditions and how to figure out if the auditions are terrible or not and if you should audition at all. Part two. Part two! As I said, you can actually Google auditions. I'll tell you how to fish out the bad ones with the good ones later, but you can Google audition. Also, my good dear friend Kira Buckland, you might know her as 2B from Nier Automata. She actually created a full-on Discord and a Twitter called the VAC, the Voice Acting Club. And they have tons of information on what you should ask for payment, what auditions are out there, what you should be looking for. Look for the VAC. Join the Discord. Get in there. Start talking to people. It's awesome. And now you're wondering, wait, how do I get auditions with like big companies though, not just online stuff? I'll tell you. Get ready to feel really awkward because you're going to have to cold email them. Yay! Yeah, that's no joke. Literally just like go online and type in a studio name, thank you Zulu, and email their email. Yes, I know it's awkward to cold email people, but I had to do it, so you do too. Here's what you do though, because those emails are probably getting flooded with people emailing them all the time. So you need to continuously email them. Now don't email them constantly, like every single day. Email them every 3 months if you don't get a response. 3 months is a good amount of time. But how do you get them to finally notice you if you really want them to notice you and they're just not finding your email? Well, I'll tell you. What have I been saying from the beginning, guys? Take classes! There are tons of classes online right now because of COVID that studios are doing with their casting directors that are looking for new talent, and they will tell you how they like people to audition and all that stuff. And if they like you a lot, they will give you their direct email, which is better than that email that they have on their online website, because that will get them to notice you more. Adventures in Voice Acting and Voices Voice Casting both have classes with casting directors. If you take those classes with casting directors, though, and the casting director doesn't give you their email, start asking what you can do to improve, what classes you should take, what teachers, because they're going to point you in the right direction of what you need so that you can impress them in the future. And then once you do take those classes and work on the skills that the casting director says you need to work on this before I hire you, email them again and show them that you've made those changes. I email certain casting directors, every now and then just to remind them that I exist, but also saying, hey, this is something new that I've been working on. Look at it. To show them that I've been working on things that they could be like, oh, shoot, I didn't know she could do that. Again, don't keep emailing casting directors every single day. You will bother them, they will block you, and then you will be blacklisted. Don't do that, please. Every 3 months. 3 months. Okay? God, this is part 4, so next is part 5. Part 5. I get it, classes can be expensive, but they are required. Not optional, required. And there's a reason why I say do it with somebody who's currently in the industry. Currently, and has been for a while. Because if you take classes with somebody who's not booking, if they're not booking, how do they help you book? And that's why I say currently, because the reason why is because acting changes. The style changes. It even changes from types. For example, dubbing in anime is a completely different style than original animation or a video game, depending on what you're doing. And if you have somebody that was like a really big voiceover person 10 years ago, but they haven't booked anything in 10 years, again, if they're not booking, how does that help you book? And I hate to break it to you guys, even when you start booking, you still have to take classes because acting style changes. It changes over time. Part 6 now. Now you're probably thinking, Karina, if I just have a whole bunch of acting coaches on my resume, that doesn't help me get experience. Having a whole bunch of acting coaches on your resume is better, a billion times better than having nothing, and also infinitely better than having a fan dub on your resume, period. Not to mention, your acting coaches can tell you where to find auditions. And if you're really good, your acting coaches can even get you those auditions. I literally got 4 of my students in a video game that I'm in right now. Because they're good, and I believe in them, and I know they'll make me look good. I'm their coach. I got them that game. They didn't even have to audition because the game likes me. This is why you need teachers. Also, even my own coaches have suggested me before. But even if your coach doesn't suggest you for anything or whatever, that is still experience. Acting classes are experience. They're just not paid experience. But I promise you that having somebody like Charlie Adler, who's one of my mentors, on your resume is a big help. I promise you. He also suggested me for stuff, but I didn't ask for that. He did that on his own, and I was shocked that he did that. But just having him on your resume is huge. Okay, Karina, but now I want to actually get experience in getting paid, like real work. How do I do that? How do I find that? Well, I already told you how to cold email casting directors. So now we're going to move on into how you find stuff online if the casting directors are not doing anything and you want to build your resume up as before you get into the casting director. There's actually tons of stuff on Twitter, guys. No Studio in particular. Shout out. You should audition for them. They have open auditions all the time. They are also really good people. There are also tons of indie video games that also always need voice actors, and they're paid. But here's the thing. You need to make sure they're legit and not trying to take advantage of you because you're a newbie. Here's how to make sure of that. First, you need to understand what the industry standard is. What do you mean by the industry standard, Karina? I mean the minimum that you should, quotes on should, get paid. The industry standard for a video game and any original animation is $250 an hour with a 2-hour minimum. For dubbing, it's $75 an hour with a 2-hour minimum. Unless it's Netflix, then it's like $83 or something like that. Why is this important to know? Because that should be your starting point for negotiations. Start there. Kira also has a list of how you should be charging or whatever, but you still need to understand that $250 an hour with a 2-hour minimum is the standard. Now you're thinking, am I worth $250 an hour with a 2-hour minimum? The answer is yes. If you auditioned like everybody else and got the job, you are worth that. You want to know why? Because that's the starting point. Now, that being said, there are a lot of indie video games out there that really can't afford that. But how do you know if they actually can't afford that versus they're just a jerk who think they cannot pay you enough? This is what you say in the email where you're sending your audition, or maybe you can just ask more about the project, because you totally can. You can actually ask about their budget and stuff like that and see why are they not paying you the industry standard. But don't be a dick about it. Don't be a dick. All you have to say is, look, my usual industry standard cost is $250 an hour with a 2-hour minimum, but I'm willing to negotiate for projects that are really cool that I believe in. Here's the reason why, because you just set the bar. And I'll explain in the next video what that means. As a voice actor, you don't ever want to be seen as a scab, because eventually you do want to work for those AAA companies. And if you ever charge yourself less than $250 an hour, if you think you're worth less, then you won't be hired by those video games because they're not going to pay you the industry standard. They'll get somebody who's actually worth that. And indie developers will remember that you said you are worth $250 an hour, but you are doing them a favor by negotiating with them. So when those indie game developers actually do get a really good budget so they can afford that standard, or they go on to work for AAA games, guess who they're going to remember as the voice actor who was willing to negotiate for their little game when they couldn't afford it? You. Which means they will do you a favor. You have to start thinking of voice acting as a business and understanding your worth and projecting that worth, because then people will respond to it. Karina, $250 an hour is way too much for me. I have nothing on my resume. I'll never work again. Never. Even if they're willing to negotiate, they won't work with me. Let me ask you a question. Do you want to get a job because you were good or because you were cheap? Think about it. Also, if everybody starts telling indie developers that this is the industry standard, they will start to think of that in advance and maybe think of that in their budget, and then they will start to actually pay that because you are worth it. Plus, you're saying that you're willing to negotiate, so you're not just saying pay me $250 an hour or nothing. You're saying you're willing to negotiate because you understand that they might not have the budget for it. Now, if this is a project that you really shouldn't be going for, the person will respond with, fuck your negotiations, you're not worth $250 an hour. Drop them, not worth it, and then tell all your friends, don't audition with them. Anybody who thinks that voice actors aren't worth the industry standard, they shouldn't have voice actors then. Another good way of getting experience to put on your resume is the few times that I will ever accept doing work for free, and that's for artists. Artists are great. Especially student artists that are in college currently taking a course in animation. Because a lot of those students will eventually go to work for Cartoon Network or Disney or anything like that, and they will remember the voice actors who helped them on their thesis project. Oh! The reason why you can do these projects for free is because the artist isn't getting any money from it either. They're not. They're literally, the artist is getting zero money from it. So it's okay for you to do these jobs for free. Artists love voice actors, guys. They want their OCs to have voices. Give it to them. I'm so tired. Putting captions on all these videos is really hard work. But I gotta do it because I want to be inclusive. Bottom line thing to understand for all you voice actors that want to be a professional someday, all I'm telling you to do really is do your research. Be your own advocate, especially because you don't have an agent yet. You need to know these things and to be smart and to think of this as a business. If you're not doing acting as a hobby or you want to get past doing it as a hobby, it's a business! Think of it as a business. And like with any business, do your research and take classes. And if you don't have the money to take classes, save up your money. That's what all of us other actors had to do. We all had to do it. We all had to go through this. We all started with nothing on a resume before. You can do it if you're smart. It's Sunday. I just woke up and I realized I needed to clear some things up. First, I'm sorry about the captions. I did not notice that they were really hard to see until after I was done with them. And I had already done them all. So I'm sorry. I tried, okay? I tried. Second of all, if somebody is in the industry and they're your friend, please do not expect them to walk you into a casting director. And what that means is they would go to the casting director for you and say, hey, go check this person out, right? And get you auditions. Don't expect people to do that. Because the only way they're going to do that is if you have already proven yourself by finding jobs on your own. You have to do the hard work and prove that you really want to do this. Because you also need to prove that you can do this. They need to see your work first before they're going to risk their own job and say, hey, maybe you want to hire this person. Now, here's what I say by doing your research. You can ask voice actors. Ask us. We will be happy to answer you. That doesn't mean spam them. Please don't. For the same reason that you wouldn't email a casting director every single day, don't spam a voice actor. If they don't answer right away, they might not have seen it or they might just be busy. But there are tons of us, so you can ask us. Just ask us some questions. Hey, I looked up this teacher. Do you know them? Are they good? But also, you should be doing research on your own, meaning that if you find a teacher, look up and see their credits. See when was the last time they worked. Have they been working recently? All that stuff. You should know how to do this. But yeah, voice actors are human, so treat us like people, please. And you can ask us questions, and we'll try to answer if we see it. I know it seems like we're some ethereal beings that are trying to gatekeep, but we truly, honestly want to help. We were exactly where you were one time. And I have to say this again, yes, you, the person with 0 things on your resume, you are worth $250 an hour with a 2-hour minimum. You, with nothing on your resume, because that is the beginner price. Somebody like Steve Bloom is obviously getting way more than that because he's Steve friggin' Bloom. You, with nothing on your resume, is $250 an hour with a 2-hour minimum. And again, that's just a starting point. You're telling these indie developers that if they don't have the budget, you are willing to negotiate. You are. So you're probably not going to get that at first. But you are putting in their mind that you are worth the industry standard, and that's the point, because you are. Because then they will think, oh shit, this person is worth that much money and I'm getting them, they're doing me a huge favor. That's the point I'm trying to get across. You are worth that. You, with nothing on your resume. You. Yes, you. You're worth it.